Live from Liberty Street Restaurant in the downtown Galleria, it's the Paul Hornung Sports Showcase with your host, College and Pro Football Hall of Famer, Paul Hornung. Brought to you by UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business. By the Collins Auto Group, where one name means more. More selection, more value, more service. By Humana. High-quality healthcare services at affordable prices. By Coors Light, there's no slowing down the silver bullet. By your local Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant, where every day is a celebration of food. And now, here's Paul.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Liberty Street Restaurant. I think we got an interesting show for you tonight. We've got two old friends and probably the two most popular sports writers we've ever had here in Louisville and in the state of Kentucky. Mike Berry's going to be with us. He's got an opinion on everything, and we're going to talk about all the people he likes and dislikes, and we're going to have Billy Reed check it and make sure he's telling the truth. And I'll tell you one thing, we've got the tape on two of the best running backs. Well, they probably had the best year in the NFL. I'm talking about James Brooks of the Cincinnati Bengals, who had probably his best year ever as a running back. He was just sensational. Averaged over 5 yards a carry. And the tape we have, I think you're going to like it. Then Barry Sanders. Barry had a wonderful year, and he was NFL Rookie of the Year. And we got 3.5 minutes of watching him run with the football. That's sensational. We're going to talk a little basketball. We're going to talk about sports tonight and then try to really enjoy. You know, last week I had Bill Curry call me on the show, and if you were watching, I think you remember that we really tried to, pump it up, and we tried to pump Billy up. A lot of his friends called him last week and tried to tell him, come on to Kentucky, we're going to support you. Well, I think that's the best thing that happened to Kentucky. This has been a great year for C.M. Newton. What a job he's done in bringing Rick Pitino as a basketball coach, and now Bill Curry to head up the football program. And maybe next week or the week following, we're going to try to get Bill Curry to be our special guest on Thursday night. So we'll be telling you about that later on during the week. But stay right there. I'll be right back with Billy Reed and Mike Berry.
Some insurance didn't even pay for your mom's allergy shots.
Or your cold last month. And because I didn't reach the deductible, it didn't pay for my stitches.
Humana has a range of plans to meet your needs. From affordable deductibles to no deductible at all.
Sue, what did my company insurance cover last year?
Nothing.
If you want coverage you can use, you want Humana.
What's the advantage of leasing a new Buick from Good Buick? It's simple. You can purchase a 1990 Century and pay $259 a month for 60 months, or lease that same car for $177 a month for only 48 months. Purchase a 1990 Riviera for $459 a month for 60 months, or lease a Riviera for $387 a month for only 48 months. It's to everyone's advantage to lease. Good Buick, where the great American road leads.
Mr. Ian McKenzie.
I'm Angus McKenzie. Ian's moved down the road.
Today, with service to 175 countries.
Oh, you've been wanting Ian Alistair McKenzie.
UPS delivers to nearly 4 billion people.
Parcel for McKenzie. Aye.
Including the extraordinary concentration of Mackenzies along the northeast coast of Scotland.
Mr. Ian Alistair McKenzie.
No trouble finding me, did you, lad?
No trouble at all.
UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
Resistant Mexican lately? Introducing Chi-Chi's new Tex-Mex dinners. Texas-size helpings with a taste just as big. Like steak El Paso, spicy grilled steak, plus 2 pepper jack cheese enchiladas. There's chicken, too. For a little heat, a lot of flavor. Remember Chi-Chi's new Tex-Mex.
Chi-Chi's, a celebration of food.
If you don't want to slow down on your way to the top,
It's the right beer now.
Because you know to make a beer as refreshing as a mountain stream, you gotta start with a mountain stream.
It's the right beer now.
When a night on the town might last all night, call for the taste preferred at Better Night Spots. The silver bullet, the one that won't slow you down.
It's the right beer now.
Okay, thank you very much. And keep it going, folks, because I tell you, I want you to welcome my special guests, Billy Reed and Mike Berry. How about it? Now, a lot of people, of course, around the Commonwealth know these two gentlemen intimately, but I'm going to tell you one thing. What they really don't know publicly is these two guys compete on the golf course. It's a killer. I mean, they are absolutely two of the worst golfers that the state has ever seen. But Mike Berry swears up and down he gives Billy Reed one shot a hole. We got to get right into the golf, Mike. Now, who is the best golfer, you or Reed?
Well, Reed got me into Wildwood for one reason. Nobody else would play with him. And I'm in there because nobody else will play with me. So we play together.
You played Tuesday?
We played Tuesday, yes.
Now, who gives who the strokes, Billy?
It's pretty much of a toss-up, Paul. I mean, when Mike and I play, it brings to mind, you know, Snead, Hogan, Palmer, Nicholas. It's that kind of a rivalry. Yeah. You know, we have great respect for each other.
I want to tell you, I'll tell you about that great respect. One time, Barry told me that he could give you a shot, a hole, and beat you.
Did you say that? Let's go. Is the course open?
If I could keep my own score.
Does he count all the strokes?
Most of them.
Most of them.
He counts most of the strokes. I'll say that for him. He's a good counter.
Mike, we really miss that Monday morning quarterback column that you used to bring out. And I always remember Mike is what you would call, Billy, a purist as far as the golf is concerned. He believes you shouldn't move the ball in any circumstances, any weather, any time, anywhere, right?
He's a bullheaded old man is what he is. Don't give me this purist stuff.
I didn't make the rules. The St. Andrews made the rules. Rule 16, play the ball as it lies.
Who's the best golfer you've ever followed or witnessed?
Wait. I got to tell you, asking that story a couple of years ago or several years ago when Jack Nicklaus was in town out supervising Valhalla. Mike and I went out and we had a picture taken of Mike Berry, me, and Jack Nicklaus. And they hung the picture up in Wildwood in the pro shop, and the caption was, "Among these three golfers are 20 major championships."
I'll guarantee you, both of you got that picture hanging up in your home, too.
Yes, I have mine.
Yeah.
He's the best you ever. Don't you think he's the best you ever saw? Haven't you told me that? Nicklaus.
Yes, I never saw Hogan. The old golfers talk about Ben Hogan, possibly, but Nicklaus has done so much for so long. I couldn't fault him. I've been compared to Nicklaus, of course. Well, now think about it. Bobby Jones said that Jack Nicklaus, they asked him about golfers, and he said, Nicklaus says he plays a game with which I am not familiar. Well, Gene Sullivan, the pro at Wildwood, looked at me and he says, what in the world are you doing? Well, it's the same thought, isn't it?
Folks, I like to tell you, they do like to kid, but they do love to play golf, and they compete with each other very regular and have a good time with it. Let's talk, well, first of all, I know Billy's been on top of this story. You're going to write a story for Sports Illustrated on Bill Curry, aren't you? You've been talking to Bill Curry. Bring us up on what you found out about Bill Curry.
Well, Paul, I think that Bill Curry coming to Kentucky is the greatest thing that's happened to Kentucky football since they hired a young coach named Bear Bryant in 1946. Just the idea, the mere thought that Kentucky could hire the Alabama football coach is remarkable. And yet, one thing I've learned with the Howard Schnellenberger situation coming to Louisville and now with Curry coming to Kentucky is that these guys are motivated by things that maybe the average guy isn't motivated by. And you never say never. With a guy like Bill Curry, I think the idea, he wasn't, and he wants to make it very clear that he wasn't run out of Alabama. He's a fighter. You're the guy that told me that.
I want to tell you something. And I don't think the money's a top consideration for Bill Curry. I think I told you that last week.
You sure did. And he's a teacher. He wants to work in an environment where he's like all of us, where he'll be appreciated, where he can teach, where he can build. And Kentucky offers him that opportunity. I think, Paul, that what he did by leaving Alabama was a very unselfish thing. I think he knew that had he stayed at Alabama, his status and his future would have been a constant topic of controversy that would have overshadowed the football team. And I think he finally said, look, this is not fair to me, it's not fair to my family, it's not fair to the players, it's best for me to go someplace else. And I think that was a pretty unselfish thing on his part.
Mike, you've seen a lot of changes here in Louisville, not only at the Courier-Journal, for heaven's sakes, what's happened to our sports page.
Yes.
There's been a lot of criticism on, you know, is our paper here? What do you do when you pick up the paper in the morning? Do you enjoy seeing so many national columns? What's the word I'm looking for that just comes out of New York over the wire service?
The wire services. No, the Courier-Journal, I used to be proud if I were anywhere in the country to say I represented the Courier-Journal, because one of the top 10, certainly the top 5 of the country. But now the Courier-Journal does not even resemble it. It's a Kmart of newspapers right now.
Well, Billy,
why don't you say what you really think?
Yeah,
why are you? He's such a shy guy. He never says. What do you really believe?
Would you second that, Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Well, I tell you, I really think that we don't have the coverage that we used to have. I don't know whose fault that is. We don't have the number of writers covering local sports, whether it's high school or even on the college level. And you know, there's been a lot of criticism as far as some of the coaches are concerned. You know, I know Hart Schnellenberger's never been happy with the coverage that he gets. Of course, he came from a program at Miami where every day there's something about the Miami team.
I think the thing with Coach Schnellenberger, Paul, is that I think he's a big enough man that he can take criticism. I think he doesn't mind being criticized or second-guessed, but he doesn't like to be ridiculed. And that's what they've done to him here in the Courier-Journal. They've ridiculed Howard Schnellenberger, and I think that is unconscionable because, to me, he's one of the finest football coaches in this country. And I guarantee you, Paul, had he wanted that Alabama job, he could have had it in a heartbeat.
Well, that brings up an interesting point. I heard, now I don't know how true this is, the job they really considered Hard as the Alabama coach last week, and Alabama didn't want to pay out the $100,000 clause that Hard had. Now, I heard this, and Hard was, you almost have to consider a job like this. I don't care. You know, people in Louisville don't understand. Everybody here, including me, wants Hard Schnellenberger to stay put. But when these jobs open up, when you're a great coach and you have, you know, he's got a great organization. People know he's organized. He's a good coach. He would be good for any program. A lot of people are going to come after Schnellenberger.
Yes.
But a lot of people around here can't understand that, Mike.
Well, one of the strange things about Louisville in football, Louisville is the only city of this size which has never had a football stadium.
That's right.
The only football stadium built in my lifetime was Manual Stadium about 1925.
That's right.
They've played in a ballpark. A baseball park. You don't have the accommodation, you don't have the seats, the facility. But Louisville has never had a football stadium.
Can we get a football stadium, you think?
Well, I think
you think it's possible here?
If we keep Hard Schnellenberger, yes.
Mike, I mean, Billy?
Well, it's possible, Paul, but I don't get any sense that the community leadership really puts that as a priority. I saw Dan Ulmer, a good friend of ours, at the U of L game here last week, and Dan is the chairman of this committee who's been studying the feasibility of a new stadium, and he told me that they're going to recommend that not only are we not going to have a dome here, but they're not going to build a new stadium either at the fairgrounds or at Shelby campus. The best we're going to do is try to renovate and spruce up Cardinal Stadium a little bit, and to me, I'm no disrespect intended to anybody, but I don't think that's good enough.
I don't think it is either. Not for what I think Hart Schnellenberger wants to do. He wants to schedule much better football teams that have been coming in here.
Well, when you look at the kind of athlete that Hart Schnellenberger is trying to recruit, and he's going after the top kids in the country, and he brings them in here and shows them Cardinal Stadium, and these same kids are going to look at Notre Dame, going to look at Ohio State, going to look at Tennessee, going to look at Kentucky. Commonwealth Stadium, Paul, I think, is a really nice football facility that has the potential to be even bigger and better. I mean, he's at a real significant disadvantage, so if he can get some of those kids to come in here, I mean, he's doing one tremendous recruiting job.
I think we got the carpet biggies, Mike. Don't you think so, in this town to do that? It worked in Syracuse. Look at the Carrier Dome. They said it never happened. Yeah. It would never be successful. And it's been a very, very big plus for that company.
Well, they get 30,000 for basketball, don't they?
35.
35,000.
35,000. And when the teams like U of L go in there, I think I looked on the tube the other night, Syracuse played, and they had 26,000. Wasn't full. But when the top teams go in there, in the Big East and teams independents. Like I remember U of L last year packed the place. There wasn't a ticket in Syracuse for that ball game.
Paul, I was down in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl a week or so ago, and the Superdome, at the time it was built, there's a lot of criticism. It's going to be a white elephant, that sort of thing. Well, I tell you what, that Superdome has done wonders for that city. They're saying in the 1990s that the #1 industry in New Orleans is going to be tourism, and the Superdome is a very big part of that.
It's made the city.
It certainly has.
It really has taken New Orleans from a second-class city.
They got the Sugar Bowl. They get the Super Bowl
and the Mardi Gras, and
they
now
get the Final Four. I mean, it's.
We'll be right back with some of hopefully some comments from Mike Merritt, some of his favorite people like Joe Hall and Albert We'll be back in a minute.
When only the best is good enough, you'll always find the best at Roof Lighting. Diverse designs, superior styling, unsurpassed quality, and a professional staff to assist you. That's Roof. And opening soon, Roof's new lighting design center in Eastgate, just east of Middletown. An additional location to serve your total lighting needs. Roof Lighting, the complete lighting, design, and planning centers. Here for you because you deserve the very best.
Here's to the people who work so hard to keep our city going. And here's to all the things you do to keep our city growing. Here's to the people we're looking to make this city's dreams come true. To the people, hard-working people, Bank of Louisville's here for you.
Beautiful furniture from who? Smith's Furniture, that's who. It brings out the best in everyone.
Hi, I'm Paul Hornung. You know, 7 years ago, I decided to let J.C. Bradford handle my IRA. Why? Well, they've always given me great advice, and their track record has always been very good. Maybe that's why more than 43,000 people have over $1 billion in retirement accounts here at J.C. Bradford. So if you have an eye on the future, take a tip from me. Let J.C. Bradford clear the way.
Home-cooked mashed potatoes. In all this fast food synthetic world, there's nothing like them. Hardly a restaurant anywhere will take the time to serve you this much goodness, except one, the Banquet Table Buffet. And real home-style mashed potatoes are just the beginning. All our good, nutritious food is prepared with the same care you take in your own kitchen. The Banquet Table Buffet, all you can eat, so good you keep coming back for more.
Thank you very much. And I want to tell you one thing that I do know about Mike Berry. I don't know if Billy really knows this. You know, for years at Louisville Downs, you were always a handicapper out there, and you did the play-by-play for what, 5 or 6 years out there.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, one night at Louisville Downs, I was there, and Mike would pick the horses, you know, for Bill King, as the races, you know, would put them together in the morning, and of course you'd get the program when you got in there. Mike picked the entire card correctly.
I don't believe it.
It's
Hey,
the
come
only
on,
time
Paul.
in history that I had the program, and I went up to Mike, didn't know it, and he was doing the play-by-play, and I went up and I said, Mike, you know, you picked 8 in a row. You got 2 more. I think we had 10 races at that time at Louisville Downs, and he picked the entire card, and I don't think it's ever been done. Now, Pat Day might ride the card one of these days at Churchill Downs, but you didn't even remember that.
Well, the reason I didn't remember is that I didn't bet on any of them.
Well, well, you were too busy working.
Yes.
Let me throw a few names at you. I know you're a big fan of Hart Cosell and Jimmy the Greek, but in the next year, there's going to be a guy that's going to try to get back into baseball, Pete Rose. Now, you've been a big outspoken critic of Pete Rose, and you think he should have the opportunity to get back, Michael?
Oh, they're always talking about will he be in the Hall of Fame. I claim he's overrated. DeRocher said a great ball player has to do 5 things. Run, throw, field, hit, and hit with power. 5 things.
To be what? I mean,
to be a great ball player.
Yeah.
Rose could hit, period. He couldn't run, he couldn't throw, he couldn't field, and he certainly couldn't hit with power.
He only had more hits than anybody in the history of this game.
He batted more times than anybody else.
See, Paul, when you get into these kind of arguments with Mike, you're at a disadvantage because Mike was a veteran sports writer when Ty Cobb was a rookie. He's the only guy I know that saw the very first Kentucky Derby, so you can't argue with him about these things. I mean,
you think Rose will get back in next year?
In baseball?
Yeah.
Never. I'd like to live long enough. I'll be 140.
I think they'll reinstate him, but I don't think any team will hire him. I think that's a big difference. That's the reason I didn't go into coaching, because I absolutely believed that I would probably get back into the National Football League. When I was reinstated,
yeah,
a lot of people said, Paul, why didn't you go into coaching? I think I would have been a good coach, and I think I would have really enjoyed it. But I'll tell you one thing, I didn't want to go into coaching because I didn't want to, I could have become an assistant coach around the National Football League, put in my time, but when there was a time for me to become a head coach in 3 or 4 years, I wouldn't think that nobody had the guts enough to hire me. So I didn't go into coaching for that very fact. And I don't think that the owners will hire Pete Rose, even if he is reinstated, even if the league says you're back in. I don't think there's any owner that will hire him as a manager.
I agree with you. No way. He's dead.
Mike Battaglia told me a pretty funny story about Pete. He's a good friend of Pete's. He's the track announcer at Turfway and Churchill Downs, and he knows
him quite well. Then,
well, he said that Pete was, after his barring from baseball and all that, shows up at Turfway one night, and they're betting the first few races and all that, and all of a sudden Pete looks at his watch and he says, "Oh, gee, Mike," he says, I got to go to my Gamblers Anonymous meeting. I'll be back for the late double." I mean, I'm not saying his attempt to rehabilitate himself is insincere, but Pete Rose does love to gamble.
Let me tell you, let's go back over that one point. I think we went over that a little bit too quickly. I did hear that Schnellenberger was going to be contacted about the Alabama. Of course, Gene Stallings was made head coach, thank heavens, University of Alabama today. But Schnellenberger may have been the coach of Alabama if they would have come up with, what, the $100,000 to pay out that $100,000 buyout clause he's got. And we really don't realize how close that is to losing somebody like that.
I think your information is very good. I think that he was contacted. I think he was interested. And I think that that Alabama, Paul, and I've never been one the whole time Howard's been here, and he's mentioned for this job and that job. I always thought he was going to stay. But Alabama could be the one job that he really would have been interested in, because now you can go back to Alabama. Enough time has passed since Coach Bryant's death, where all of a sudden you can be literally almost the second coming.
Right.
And Howard Schnellenberger is the one guy who could have gone in there and instantly been on equal footing with Pat Dye in that state. He's the one guy that has the background and the stature to do that. And I'm really, frankly, amazed that Alabama just didn't write a blank check and say, "Here, whatever it takes to get you, we want you."
Howard Cosell, Michael. Give me a few of your famous quotes on.
A legend.
Cosell's going to be my in his own mind. You're going to say that?
A legend in his own mind.
That's right. Yeah. He's going to be our guest here in a couple of weeks.
He doesn't know anything about any sport.
But do you know he was the most popular man in the history of television?
Not with me.
Well, I know maybe not with you, but I'm going to tell you something. And I know this kills you, what I'm about to tell you.
Yes.
And this was an absolute fact that when they put him on the Derby, without him on the Derby, the ratings, he got almost 1.5 to 2 points, which is a lot of popularity. And this, on the Derby race, when they had the Kentucky Derby, before Cosell and with Cosell, there was a distinct advantage to having Cosell on there for ABC, whether he knew a horse or not.
He didn't know a horse. I'd say the Derby got that rating despite Cosell. He doesn't know which end of a horse eats.
The thing about Mike and Howard Cosell, Paul, is that they're so much alike. I mean,
Mike was just a little bit late.
Never talk to me again. I'm through with you, Reed. We're so much alike.
Who was the best horse you've ever seen in the Derby?
Oh my gosh.
Citation.
Well, I don't remember back. What was that? 40?
I told you can't argue with him, Paul.
48. Citation ran 2 years, 29 starts, 27 wins, 2 seconds. In that same 2 years, Secretariat got beat 5 times. Once he was not in the money.
A lot of people have said Seattle Slew.
Seattle Slew, I loved him. He could have. He was greatly trained.
5 world records at one time?
He had poor owners.
What's that Swap? Swap's held 5 records.
Yes. Seattle Slew was a wonderful horse. He had owners who didn't understand how good he was.
How about Adolph Rupp? Let's go back to your many columns on the man in the brown suit.
Adolph, the great character builder, his teams played in the SEC when Kentucky was the only team that had athletic scholarships for basketball. All the other teams used basketball as a winter conditioning program for football.
In the South especially, of course.
Exactly. There were no athletic scholarships for basketball.
Now, how far are we going back now, Michael?
We're going back to Rupp's time, back in the 40s. It was after the war, before, I think, Vanderbilt was the first school to give out an athletic scholarship for basketball outside of Kentucky.
Those years you had a great affiliation, in a negative sense, for our governor at the time, Mr. Chandler.
Oh, my.
Never been one of your friends.
Well, he's 91 years old. I hope he lives to be 101.
He may.
That'll give him another 10 years. He might tell the truth.
You mean what?
He's got a clean slate for 91 years. But in another 10 years, he might slip and tell the truth.
A little more about the best jockey that you've ever seen. Was it Shoemaker?
No. I don't know, but the best jockey that ever rode in the Derby was Hartag.
Well, his record stands out, what, 5 out of...
Yeah, he didn't always ride the favorite, but he never rode a bad race in the Derby. And all the other guys, Shoemaker and Arcaro, they rode some terrible races in the Derby.
You know, I had Eddie Arcaro on about a month and a half ago, and Eddie was telling us how many times he picked the wrong horse, for heaven's sake. Yeah. Of course, people don't realize Arcaro had his pick of maybe 25 years riding in the Derby. He could have picked the favorite almost every time, and he made more mistakes picking the wrong horse than he did ride winners. He
rode 5 winners, but he also got beat on 10 favorites. Mm-hmm. Now, how many jockeys in their lifetime would ever get on 10 favorites? He got beat on 10.
Mm-hmm. I'll bet you Pat Day might come close to that before it's over with.
Well, Pat is a fine rider. He's a good rider. And I have not seen Pat make any mistakes in the Derby.
Is he better than the great ones you've seen, Pat Day?
I'm not, seriously, I'm not qualified to judge jockeys. I just look and see what they did and how they finished. But I can't look at a jockey and say he's riding bad or riding poorly. I'm just not that good on riding.
That's not what I hear you say at the track.
Yeah.
When you tear up those tickets.
Give us a little insight, Billy. What's the story? What are you going to write about Curry in Sports Illustrated coming up?
Well, Paul, I think that Alabama has really made a tremendous blunder in the way they've handled Bill Curry. And I think the fact that they were only able to get Gene Stallings as their coach, and nothing against Gene Stallings particularly, except that, that to me, he is not what you would call a big name, top level type coach. He's had losing records every place he's been. He doesn't have the charisma, in my opinion, that Bill Curry has. I think Alabama people, as time goes on, are going to find out what they've lost. I think Bill Curry is a man of great integrity and honor. I think he's a good football coach. I think he's a very sensitive person, though, Paul, and I think this constant carping, it's like every game that Alabama played ended up as a referendum on Bill Curry. And should he stay, should he be gone, that type of thing. And I think that finally just wore him down. He and I talked, and we compared the Alabama football job with the Kentucky basketball job, and I think there are similarities there. But I think that Bill Curry is going to be very comfortable at Kentucky. And I think he's coming in at a good time where Jerry Claiborne has that program in really great shape in most ways, and all they need is a guy that can come in there and convince them that you guys can be champions. And I think Bill Curry's the guy that can do that.
Do we need a playoff in college football like we have in basketball? We'll find those answers from these two gentlemen in just a minute. Stay right where you are.
I never imagined that a prescription would cost $80. My insurance keeps going up, and it doesn't even cover prescriptions.
The Humana Gold Plan can cover prescriptions, vision care, and all Medicare-eligible doctors and hospital costs.
There's so much Medicare still doesn't cover.
Chances are the Humana Gold Plan covers it.
It's all so complicated.
No, it's all so easy. Call 1-800-647-0070 now.
What's the advantage of leasing a new Buick from Good Buick? It's simple. You can purchase a 1990 Century and pay $259 a month for 60 months, or lease that same car for $177 a month for only 48 months. Purchase a 1990 Riviera for $459 a month for 60 months, or lease a Riviera for $387 a month for only 48 months. It's to everyone's advantage to lease. Good Buick, where the great American road leads.
In places beyond the reach of other overnight delivery companies, you'll find UPS. Because unlike the competition, only UPS Next Day Air guarantees delivery overnight to every single address coast to coast. And because we're so efficient, we can do it for up to half what other companies charge, whether the place is hard to reach or easy to reach. UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
For help with the design and purchase of a new air compressor, you need Air Systems. For service or repair of your present system, you need Air Systems. For parts and lubricants for your air compressors, you need Air Systems. If your compressed air system fails at any time of the day or night, you need Air Systems. I'm Jim Turner, owner and president of Air Systems. If you need a new air compressor, parts, repair service, or emergency rental, call me at Air Systems in Louisville.
Thank you very quickly, Mike. Should we have a Final Four in football the way they do in basketball? Would it be advantageous for the schools?
I like the setup they have now.
The bowls, and that's it.
Right, yeah. Let them argue about who's number one.
No, all right, Billy. I really think that SI ought to really do a in-depth thing about the bowls, and really, because I think most of your coaches today want them.
Well, Paul, I think you can have a playoff system and maintain the existing bowls. And I think that's going to be good for the minor bowls. For example, if you can say have a 16-team playoff and have the early round games played in the All-American Bowl, the Liberty Bowl. What the Liberty Bowl people in Memphis would get is, say, a first-round game between Tennessee and Arkansas as opposed to what they're getting now. So I think you can maintain the bowls, but I think TV would go nuts over this. What, they pay $1 billion or something for the NCAA basketball tournament? This would be bigger than that.
We talked last week about two scenarios, eight-team playoff after the bowls or a 14 playoff. And I think the 14 playoff, top 4 teams after the bowls, playoff for the national.
I think you could do it with 16 teams, and spread, and that way, if you had the 16 teams,
you got 4 weeks. Then.
You can incorporate all the existing bowls. You wouldn't have to kill a bowl game, and plus you'd have it at a time during the season, Paul, where all the kids are out of school. You wouldn't have to cut into their class time. But 8 teams, I think 8 or 4 is probably more reasonable and more likely to happen, but it's going to happen within the next 5 years.
Mike, one of my favorite football players is James Brooks, and I've really felt that he's the #1 key as far as the Cincinnati Bengals are concerned. When he has a good year, the Bengals have a good year. And this year, I still think they're the best offensive team in football. And I want to tell you, you've got to look at this piece that we got from NFL Films out of Philadelphia, because it really depicts what a good year that James Brooks had. Watch.
Among NFL running backs, James Brooks is an anomaly. At the age of 31, when most running backs are relegated to special team status or considering retirement, this superbly conditioned athlete enjoyed the finest and most productive season of his unheralded 9-year career. Brooks rushed for 1,239 yards. And in the AFC, only Thurman Thomas of the Bills accumulated more total yards from scrimmage. Like fine wine, Brooks has improved with age. And by earning his second straight Pro Bowl berth, he has finally achieved the recognition that he has for so long had to fight for. Consider, for example, the famous divisional playoff between San Diego and Miami following the 1981 season. As a rookie running back for the Chargers, Brooks, wearing number 21, performed like a seasoned pro.
Way to go, James! Way to go, James! Way to bust in there! Way to go! Way to go, man! Way to go!
Brooks scored 2 touchdowns, including the dramatic game tire that came in the final minute of the contest. But this eventual Charger victory, in one of the greatest games of all time, will always be remembered for the exhaustive exploits of tight end Kellen Winslow. Traded to the Bengals in 1984, Brooks played with distinction for a mediocre Cincinnati team. In 1988, however, Cincinnati reached the AFC Championship, and it was Brooks's clutch second-quarter touchdown catch that gave the Bengals the lead for good. But Brooks's glory was overshadowed by Ickey Woods and his attention-grabbing shuffle. In the second week of the 1989 season, however, Ickey Woods suffered a career-threatening injury and shuffled no more. The loss of Woods appeared to be a devastating blow to the Bengals, who rely heavily on their power-running game. But unfortunate as it was, it gave James Brooks a chance to emerge from his usual supporting role and prove that he can be a star, even at the age of 31.
Overhands the ball up. Brooks rips up to the 40-yard line. 40, 50. Down to the Steelers' 40. It is a race. He's going to be the 20. 10, 5, touchdown!
It would be wrong to assume that Brooks is simply a swift runner who knows how to elude a tackle. Indeed, in one-on-one situations, there are few NFL runners who are tougher to bring down. In 1989, the Cincinnati Bengals did not make the playoffs. But thanks to James Brooks, they remained in the hunt to the very end, and ultimately they led all NFL teams in rushing. For his gritty performance in the face of adversity, James Brooks earned a seasonal honor that in many ways has symbolized his 9-year career. It is the honor of being the NFL's unsung hero.
I'll tell you one thing, he really had a sensational, just a sensation. He averaged over 5 yards a pop, and not too many running backs in the last 30 years have averaged over 5 yards a carry. But before you go, I want you to have this nice little keychain, Mr. Barry. Sterling silver keychain, courtesy of Singh Jewelers here. Now, Reed, you were on here before. You got one. So we had one made for your lovely wife, Donna. Here we have a nice little...
Certainly appreciate that. Thank you.
That to your wife. And before, Barry, I want to tell you something. We usually give some free tickets to Chi-Chi's out. We want you to have some.
Yes.
Now, when Reed was on the last time, he stole all the Chi-Chi tickets, and he's got about 16 of them at home, so he's going to give you 3 or 4 free dinners at Chi-Chi's.
3 or 4, 2.
For your lovely wife, Benny, and I just want to thank both of you for coming by and really enjoyed it. And I always said that if I'm going to do a show in Louisville, this is our 19th show. We got 2 more to go. That before the year's over with, I wanted to have my man Mike Berry on, because I don't think there's anybody that has been listened to and people like more than Mike Berry in this city as far as the sports writers are concerned.
You don't want to bet on that.
Thank you very much for being here, and thank you, Billy, for coming by. Let's hear it for him, and I'll be right back in just a minute.
Are we through?
Resistant Mexican lately? Introducing Chi-Chi's new Tex-Mex dinners. Texas-size helpings with a taste just as big. Like steak El Paso, spicy grilled steak, plus 2 pepper jack cheese enchiladas. There's chicken, too. For a little heat, a lot of flavor. Remember Chi-Chi's new Tex-Mex.
Chi-Chi's, a celebration of food.
What's the advantage of leasing a new Buick from Good Buick? It's simple. You can purchase a 1990 Century and pay $259 a month for 60 months, or lease that same car for $177 a month for only 48 months. Purchase a 1990 Riviera for $459 a month for 60 months, or lease a Riviera for $387 a month for only 48 months.
Your Hall of Fame dealer.
It's to everyone's advantage to lease. Good Buick, where the great American road leads.
Every night while you're sleeping, UPS is maintaining its status as the only company that delivers overnight to every address coast to coast. And we guarantee it with UPS Next Day Air. And because we're so efficient, we'll still do it for up to half what other companies charge, which is guaranteed to cause our competition some sleepless nights. UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
It's the right beer now.
But not now.
It's the right beer now.
But definitely not now.
Coors Light, it's the right beer now.
And absolutely positively not now. No way.
Come on, Jimmy, let me get your cab.
Thank you very much. And this is the time of the show where we really start picking the college games. Of course, we have no college football the rest of the season, but I just want to thank UPS for this portion of the show, because they've sponsored this portion of the show all year long, and we've appreciated it. But we can't talk about some of the changes, of course, that's happened in college football this past week. Now, one of which, of course, is pro. I wanted to say a word before I forgot about Jerry Glanville, who actually, between he and Bud Adams, the owner of Houston, it was decided that he move on, and that's the easiest way to say he was fired. And Glanville saved face by saying he resigned. So they came to the meetings of the minds. Of course, Bud Adams had to give Jerry Glanville $300,000 and pay out the remaining year of his contract. So he's got a $300,000 a year leeway to fool around and relax and buy some more black outfits and get on a few horses and listen to Elvis records. He can have a quite enjoyable year. But Bill Curry, of course, was the main one, and I'm very, very happy. He called us last week on the show, and as I said at the top of the show, we're going to get Bill Curry on here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. If he's in town, we're going to arrange a luncheon for Bill Curry, and I'm sure that all the University of Kentucky alumni who live in the surrounding area, even as far as Lexington, will want to be here, and hopefully Bill will have enough time to come by here on Thursday night, next Thursday night, or the following Thursday night, and be our guest on the showcase, because I really want to present a good friend to this area, because he's quite an exceptional young man. And as Billy Reed told you, the UK could not have done a better job in hiring a guy who's really going to fit in this program. And I really believe Kentucky is just that far away. You know, we sit right here in the middle of some pretty good recruiting. We got Ohio, we got Illinois, all the Midwestern states. And Kentucky, of course, does not rank up that high as far as high school recruits going into Division I football. But I'll tell you one thing, there's a lot of pretty good football players right in this immediate area. And if Bill gets his share, I'll tell you one thing, there's going to be a lot more competition for hire with Curry in here recruiting. So it should be interesting. But we got that piece that I wanted to show you about Barry Sanders. And if you stay with us for about a minute and a half, we'll be back, and I want to take a look at the best young running back to come into the league in a long, long time.
This is the shop of Samsat Pasar, a thriving establishment on the outskirts of Bangkok. Unlike other international executives, he has no phone system, no computers, not even a fax machine. He does, however, enjoy one modern and efficient service nearly 4 billion people in 175 countries today can take for granted. UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
What's the advantage of leasing a new Buick from Good Buick? It's simple. You can purchase a 1990 Century and pay $259 a month for 60 months, or lease that same car for $177 a month for only 48 months. Purchase a 1990 Riviera for $459 a month for 60 months, or lease a Riviera for $387 a month for only 48 months. It's to everyone's advantage to lease. Good Buick, where the great American road leads.
If you feel life's more interesting when you make a splash,
It's the right beer now.
if you feel a great beer starts with great water,
It's the right beer now.
because you're the kind of person who likes to get to the bottom of things, call for the Silver Bullet, the one that won't slow you down.
Coors Light. It's the right beer now.
Okay, gang. And welcome to the Coors Light NFL Paul's Picks. And before we get to the two big games, the NFC Conference Championship game, which is coming up Sunday, both games actually on Sunday. The first one you'll be watching will be the Cleveland Browns at Denver. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And also right following I think the best game of the year, the Rams against the 49ers. And I think whoever wins that will win the Super Bowl. In fact, it's an unusual thing. Today in Las Vegas, San Francisco is a 9-point favorite over Cleveland and 11-point favorite over the Browns, whoever wins. So they're pretty keen out in Las Vegas on who's going to win that game. They got the 49ers strong favorites to go all the way. But anyway, we're talking about the NFL season, and I want to tell you something. If you want to see one of the best young running backs ever to come into the game, take a look at this.
After winning the Heisman Trophy in his only year as a starter at Oklahoma State, the only question about Barry Sanders was, how does a gifted running back fit into the Detroit Lions' pass-happy, run-and-shoot offense?
That's been a very productive position for us over the years. And our S-back, which incidentally stands for single, or if you got a great one, stands for super. And now we seem to have had an impact player that has slipped into the uniform of the Lions, and we're excited about getting Barry into the run.
I'll tell you what, there's a little electricity in the air right now. The S-back is the Heisman Trophy winner. And he gets the call, cuts it back, reverses field, 25, 20, he's to the 15, he's to the 10-yard line. Barry Sanders on his first NFL carry goes 19 yards.
From his first carry to his last, Barry Sanders took the NFL by surprise, even when they knew he was coming. This rookie rocket averaged over 5 yards a carry, and he finished only 10 yards behind NFL rushing leader Christian Okoye, although he also carried the ball 90 fewer times.
Galliano to Sanders up the middle, scoots to the left side to the 15, to the 10, he's to the 5, touchdown Lions. Oh, what a move he put on at the line of scrimmage.
I try to perfect the skill of trying to make people miss. You know, I think if a running back can do that, along with speed, what else do you need?
The only other thing this rookie needed was something he already had: toughness. Though he reported to the Lions just days before the season opener, he adjusted quickly, proving to be the type of runner who could embarrass a defense with his ability to make them miss. At 5'8" and 203 pounds, this elusive rookie posted team records with 1,470 yards and 14 touchdowns, while helping the Lions to win 6 out of their final 7 games. During his first NFL season, number 20 let his instincts dictate his actions. In 1989, those instincts made Barry Sanders the NFL's Rookie of the Year.
And off Barry Sanders, left side. Sanders breaks the tackle. Touchdown, Lions! Barry Sanders, with those big legs, broke a tackle and takes it in.
And folks, I tell you what, I haven't seen anybody better than Barry Sanders.
I tell you, he's really something. And folks, you're looking at, in this decade, you're looking at a young man's going to make $2 million a year running the football before he's over with. And I really believe when pay-view television comes in, you're going to be looking at $5 million quarterbacks. And I mean $5 million a year. Because pay-view television is coming to the NFL. And I don't think it'll be more than 5 years. And I tell you, these quarterbacks are going to make so much money, it's unbelievable. We'll be right back and take a look at the Final Four in just a minute.
Because you like some days to be all downhill.
It's the right beer now.
If this is your idea of preserving the wildlife.
It's the right beer now.
Because out here, not everything hibernates for the winter. So reach for the silver bullet, the one that won't slow you down.
Coors Light. Yeah, it's the right beer now.
Resistant Mexican lately? Introducing Chi-Chi's new Tex-Mex dinners. Texas-size helpings with a taste just as big. Like steak El Paso, spicy grilled steak, plus 2 pepper jack cheese enchiladas. There's chicken, too. For a little heat, a lot of flavor. Remember Chi-Chi's new Tex-Mex.
Chi-Chi's, a celebration of food.
Okay, welcome back to the NFL Paul's Pick, sponsored by Coors Light. As I said, we're down to the Final Four, and both the games for the AFC Championship, the NFC Championship this coming Sunday. I think it's going to be a great day of football. And for the playoffs, I'm a little bit loser. I'm 2-4 since the playoffs began. Last week I broke even, had 2 wins and 2 losses. The 2 wild card games we missed as far as picking the winner against the numbers. So let's take a look now at the AFC Championship game, which begins Sunday. The first game that you'll be looking at will be Cleveland visiting Denver at Mile High Stadium. Now, Cleveland has been very inconsistent. The last 5 or 6 games, Kevin Mack has really helped them in the backfield, but Kozar has actually thrown for over 1,000 yards the last 4 games, so he's come back. They say he's got a bad elbow, but he's throwing the football with some accuracy. But the key is Cleveland has yet to really put any pressure on the quarterback, and that's what you must do against Elway. Now, Elway has not had a good year at all as far as John Elway is concerned. In fact, the Broncos have really tapered off. They were a great football team for the first 12 or 13 games of the year, but they haven't been. In fact, they're 1-3 straight up in the last 4 games. But playing at Mile High Stadium, they're 42-9 the last 5 years playing at home straight up, and that's some kind of home record. They're a great home team. But I just think that Cleveland is about due, and I really would hope that Art Modell would get a shot at a Super Bowl, because he really is one of the great owners in the league. He's also on the board of directors of Churchill Downs here at Louisville. But I would love to see Cleveland win that, and I'm going to pick Cleveland plus the 4 points. I think it'll be close, and I think Cleveland, I prefer to take the points here with the team that I think has a chance of winning straight up. So now, the second game, which I think is the best 2 teams left. They're the best 2 teams in the NFL, the Rams against the 49ers. The 49ers are the best team in the league all year long against the spread. They're 14-3 against the spread. The Rams aren't poor either. They're 11-7 against the number all year long. Every time I pick against the 49ers, they win. I don't know why. I'm going to go with the Rams again. If you remember, the last time the Rams and the 49ers played in Candlestick, incidentally, they split this year, winning each in the other's ballpark. The Rams had a chance to win. They were leading by 13 points. They fumbled. Then fourth quarter, all of a sudden, Montana hits Rice, and he goes 97 yards. John Taylor, he went 97 yards or 93 yards for a touchdown and broke the Rams back. They actually were ahead by 13 points and ended up blowing the ball game. I think the Rams match up well against the San Francisco 49ers, but I'm just going to take the 7.5 points. I just like the dog, but I think San Francisco's got the best team in the National Football League, and Montana is probably the best quarterback that's probably ever played this game, folks. And he could be the quarterback in the 80s to win four Super Bowls, and I think that's a pretty good feather in his hat. We'll be right back to take a look at what's going to come up the last couple of weeks in just a minute, so stay with us.
Some insurance didn't even pay for your mom's allergy shots.
Or your cold last month. And because I didn't reach the deductible, it didn't pay for my stitches.
Humana has a range of plans to meet your needs, from affordable deductibles to no deductible at all.
Sue, what did my company insurance cover last year?
Nothing.
If you want coverage you can use, you want Humana.
Hi, I'm Paul Hornung. You know, 7 years ago, I decided to let J.C. Bradford handle my IRA. Why? Well, they've always given me great advice, and their track record has always been very good. Maybe that's why more than 43,000 people have over $1 billion in retirement accounts here at J.C. Bradford. So if you have an eye on the future, take a tip from me. Let J.C. Bradford clear the way.
Home-cooked mashed potatoes. In all this fast food synthetic world, there's nothing like them. Hardly a restaurant anywhere will take the time to serve you this much goodness, except one, the Banquet Table Buffet. And real home-style mashed potatoes are just the beginning. All our good, nutritious food is prepared with the same care you take in your own kitchen. The Banquet Table Buffet, all you can eat, so good you keep coming back for more.
All right, thank you. I want to thank my guests again, Mike Berry and Billy Reed, for dropping by and saying hello. And I want to tell you, the next couple of weeks, here's what we hope. Bob Schnook, one of the producers down at Store Cable, got some tickets. We're supposed to go up and watch Indiana play. And maybe we're going to get an interview with Bobby Knight. I don't know. I think you gotta get a special ticket from God to get an interview with that man, but we're going to give it a shot. But I'll tell you one thing, hopefully next week we're going to have live Bill Curry here next Thursday, and then following up the last week, Super Bowl week, we're going to have Howard Cosell. So if you're sitting at home, you better call up and get a reservation early. We're going to have a big crowd down here. And I want to remind everybody, if you tuned in a little bit late, you want to see the show, we're always coming back at you right here at Store Cable Channel 11, 5:30s on Friday, all over the state of Kentucky and Lexington. And I want to say hello to my good friends up in northern Kentucky and Henderson and down in western Kentucky. So you got a shot to look at the show again on Friday. We rerun it every week, and we hope you enjoy it. Now, like I said, hopefully we'll have Bill Curry here. I'm going to be talking to Bill on Saturday, and I hope he's available for either next Thursday or the following. If not, I'm going to have my good friend Howard Cosell come in and lie a little bit. And I'm going to have Mike Berry come up here and interview Howard. I doubt that very seriously. Both of them probably wouldn't. And if I can't get Howard Cosell here, I'll have Jimmy the Greek for Mike Berry. It's another one of his good boys. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the shows. Paul Hornung, remember, right here, Store Cable Channel 11 for the showcase. Thank you very much.
The Paul Hornung Sports Showcase has been brought to you by UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business. By the Collins Auto Group, where one name means more. More selection, more value, more service. By Humana, high-quality healthcare services at affordable prices. By Coors Light, there's no slowing down the silver bullet. By your local Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant, where every day is a celebration of food. America's first astronaut. May 5th, 1961.